months, obviously. We are videotaping this again, and I apologize, I sound like I'm fading in and fading out, but as long as y'all hear me okay, that's fine. We're videotaping. We actually have the other two meeting videotapes. We're going to get them posted up on a YouTube site and get that out to y'all so you can go back and look and see what you might have missed if you weren't able to attend. You're welcome. It's going to be on a public YouTube spot, so you're welcome to share them with anybody in your departments or in your buildings. So we have a couple things. Hopefully everybody has signed in. If you're not a building coordinator, there is a sign-in sheet for you. So there's a sheet for building coordinators, so people who are actively serving in their building coordinator role, either as a primary or a secondary. But we also are building a listserv of our building coordinator partners. Those are individuals, there are a lot of us in facility services who fall into that category. A lot of y'all have people who are engaged with you as a building coordinator, but they don't necessarily serve in that building coordinator role. So we asked each of those individuals to sign in on that sheet this morning, and we are going to continue to build that listserv, because the idea behind all of this is to get information out to not only to y'all, but to help you disperse it throughout your buildings and throughout the facilities that you serve. So be sure that if you didn't sign in, we do have we have a door prize drawing at the end of the meeting. We'll do just one for fun, but it's got some interesting pieces to it. And so I guess let's go ahead and get started. On your tables, you'll see a nice little centerpiece that is made up of water bottles. Some of you have already pulled yours out. Please take it apart. Take one of the water bottles home with you. Those are actually something that we co-branded with the Office of Sustainability. So on one side you'll see the Office of Sustainability address and information, and then on the other side, or if you don't have one at your table, please get one. That's your parting gift. You're welcome to keep, they're all held together with a big red rubber band. If you want to take the rubber band, you can. And again, there's some of the thank you building coordinator binder clips. You're welcome to take those. Just don't anybody put their eye out or anything when you're pulling the Band-Aid or pulling off the rubber band. But it's just, again, our way not only of saying thank you, but it also helps our branding, and it helps the Office of Sustainability brand. And we do a lot of partnering with them. So without any further ado, unless anybody has any questions, we're going to just jump right in. So the first person we have on our agenda today is David Oliver. He's the new Associate Vice President, Associate Vice Chancellor for the university and for the University of Houston system over facilities and construction management. And so we would like to invite David up. He's just going to talk just for a few minutes because I think he's got some other meetings to run to. If not, he's welcome to stay and sit through the meeting. But I wanted to just tell you briefly, we did a news release about him, but here just to kind of refresh your memory. He is a licensed professional engineer, and he's a native Texan, which is really nice. His education, he has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Texas Tech, a master's degree in construction management and civil engineering from University of Texas, Austin, and then a master's degree in business administration from Texas A&M. He served in the U.S. Navy as a civil engineer corps officer. His work experience includes quality control and engineering intern with the Texas Department of Transportation. He's owned and operated a construction firm specializing in building custom homes in the Bryan College Station area. Construction manager and director of engineering and project management at UT Health Science Center, San Antonio. And we hired him away from his role as assistant vice president for facilities at UTSA main campus, their downtown campus, and the Institute of Texas Culture. And I will say that I'm glad we were able to woo him over here to Houston and to the University of Houston. So I'm going to let Mr. Oliver say just a few words to you.
Thank you, Jackie. How are you guys doing this morning? Good? Everybody got the red on. I'm not going to call out anybody. It's a good story. Like the first hour I was here on this campus, my first day, I was told, if there's nothing else you do, make sure you wear red on Friday. So I've had to buy a lot of red ties, is all I'll say. Well, thank you very much, Jackie. First, I want to talk briefly about Jackie. She is works very hard on this program. I can assure you, she's in my ear constantly about ways we can improve the program. So I want to give her a round of applause, please. Thank you very much, Kathy. She's the one that really makes this program run. I will tell you that from our perspective. So I really appreciate everything she's done. She asked me to talk, and I said, well, what does the building coordinators want to hear? And so she listed out all this great stuff. And I said, well, let's take it a little bit at a time. So I want to talk a little bit about what I think about building coordinators. And I will tell you that this program is light years ahead of what I've seen at other universities. Hands down. Having this type of representation out in the community and into our departments helps us immensely in getting word out and getting communication out to all these groups. As you may notice, we've got some aging infrastructure. I don't remember the numbers, but I think it's 60 buildings that are over 40 years of age. As you can imagine, that creates a lot of outages, a lot of issues that need to be resolved. And getting that information out to all of our researchers, the faculty, staff, students is key in making sure that they know what's coming and that they can adjust and not have issues. So this group does a wonderful job of that. And I want to say thank you very much. In the short time I've been here, I know we've had numerous outages, some of them very short, some of them very unscheduled, and you in this group have done a wonderful job of giving that information. In addition to that, of course, the winter outages, we had a ton of outages. I want to thank Carl, by the way. Carl did a wonderful job over the holidays in getting all the electrical outages coordinated along with Jackie. But those are the types of things that the building coordinators really do a wonderful job on. And I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate what you do. As I told Jackie, if there's whatever I can do to support this program, I'm all in. This is the heart and soul of our communication with the university. I always tell a story about communication, and if you'll bear with me, hopefully I have a little time here.
You do.
Thank you very much. I had a situation that illustrates the lack of communication. I think that helps us all understand why communication is so key. I had a lady call me not that long ago, and she was livid. Her housekeeping services were bad, and we had outsourced housekeeping, and they started working at night. And that new housekeeper had no idea what she was doing, and it was a mess, and just on and on. I said, man, let me look at it. Let me find out what happened. Turns out, we had on the night shift. The building had not been outsourced. It was still our normal in-house housekeeper. She was working at night, and it was the exact same housekeeper. So the communication had not been there to let her know what was going on. And it's perception as well, right? You know, those are the types of things that this group will help us overcome, is giving that type of communication out there. Because your peers and colleagues are comfortable coming to you and asking questions about what's going on. Whereas they might hesitate to pick up the phone because they don't know who to talk to. So you are our eyes and ears out there. You're our voice. If you ever have any questions, I know Jack is available, I'm available. Please feel free to let us know. We will work very hard to make sure that you are successful and you have the tools you need to make this program a success. So that's really all I have, Jackie. I'll open it up real quick for any questions. I know facilities has got a lot of moving parts, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I
Yes,
just have
ma'am.
a comment that I really appreciate having her, because even if something comes up and I don't know who to send it to, I will email her and she get it to the right person.
Absolutely. Jackie is one of our key people.
That's all being recorded too, by the way.
Any other questions? Wow. That was a lot of people. I'm not going to call anybody out.
It's good to have you on board.
Well, thank you much. I appreciate it. Well, if there's no other questions, I will hand it back to Jackie and let her proceed forward. Unfortunately, yes, I do have a meeting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, David. We appreciate it. You will be tapped probably for other presentations as time goes forth. But thank you for coming this morning. I know things are very busy this morning, as they always are. Thanks so much. One thing that I do want to, we actually made a slide of this. It was in our newsletter, the employee newsletter, the monthly newsletter that we send to the building coordinators. They're posted on our website, but as you know, over the last probably couple of years, we've gone from being facilities management to facilities operations, and then we were facilities operations and management and facilities operations and maintenance. Some of that was more behind the scenes. Y'all didn't see all of that. What we have settled on as a department is facility services, because it was we actually did some benchmarking and research, and it looked like across our sister universities and really across the country that facility services is what sort of one side of the house deals with. Then in facilities, you have facilities planning and construction. They maintained their name. So we are now facility services, and we partner with, and we've been partnering all along with our colleagues in FPC. But with the arrival of David, we had been called Plant Operations, and Plant Operations was the parent organization for all of the things that facility does. And with his arrival and with his role, not only at the university level, but at the U of H system level, we now have a new name, and we are facilities, and it's a / construction management. And so that's what you will begin to see more and more. We are made up of two very distinct, separate entities in the form of facility services and in facilities planning and construction. A lot of the times, I know you probably interact with facility services primarily, but as time goes by, I know a lot of you had a lot of interaction with our FPC folks as well, so you will continue to see that. It will just be under this parent organization, F/CM. We're in the process of building a website that will be sort of the focal. It's going to be the parent website, and from that we'll have certainly a link to facility services and one to FPC, but we'll also probably have hot button issues, maybe a link to the outage calendar, to the outage notification process, as well as, it's kind of evolving. But those are some of the things that we have coming down the pike, and we're excited about it. And when I say we're excited that David is here and on board, it's great. We are in the process of hiring an executive director for facility services and an executive director for FPC. So more to come on that front. So that piece hasn't changed. It's just that we're no longer called plant operations, and we have a brand new AVP, AVC. So having shared that, and this is our formula for success, I know it's a little corny, but in the world of marketing and communications, corn sells sometimes. But it is literally now FS plus FPC, and it equals to our FCM. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of an update for you on the outages, and then after that we have Ron Harris and Malcolm Davis are going to come, and they're going to talk about really a fairly significant new project that's coming down the pike at y'all, to the whole campus. But for now, let's go ahead and turn it over to both Carl and Mike. Are y'all both going to come up? Or whomever's going to come up and share a little bit about what's gone before and what's still to come.
Thank you, Jackie. Oh, good morning. Carl. He's our electrical shop supervisor, and I'm Mike Wheeler, and you've probably seen me the last couple of building coordinators meeting talking about the electrical outage that was coming up. Well, I'm happy to say that the electrical outage for last December went very, very well, and I'd like to give a big hand to Carl and his group for all the work they did. And then also to you guys for putting up with all the communications and all the last-minute meetings we had to have with you to do all the coordination. Yes. We're not done. But anyway, we're going to go through this slideshow. The first topic was we had some items on the Hartford Boil and Steam report. Those remaining 4 items were addressed, and we went ahead and did the repairs, and then we replaced 3 transformers in the engineering building that were noted on that. So that was a good improvement. The Cougar substation, preventive maintenance and tested all the yard equipment. That hasn't been done in
4 years, it's on a 4-year cycle.
4-year cycle. So we got to do that, which means that we take half of campus down while we rotate the different feeders back to campus. And so that was very, very successful. We identified some things in there we'll go over in just a minute. And then we demo and removed some of the lighting from the yard, which doesn't mean anything to you guys other than it was just hanging down and it needed to be removed. Carl's group supported 3 projects with FP&C, and that involved a lot of the research guys. Where you at? Oh, there you go. Yeah. So y'all's buildings got some improvements and some renovation done there. The MREB building, which is coming up, they did the tie-ins, the electrical tie-ins that needed to be done, and then they demoed subfeeder 4 in the tunnel, which had been giving us some problems. So that was all good work. Also, multiple buildings, they PM'd the transformers, preventive maintenance on the transformers and the 480 switch gear. They probably, and Carl was trying to estimate, but it was over 150 pieces of equipment at 10 different locations that they were able to PM in those 3 days. So they had basically an army of guys out here hitting each of these buildings as they were coming offline to address all the electrical up to a certain point within the mechanical room and then getting that taken care of. Anybody who owns a car knows that you've got a routine maintenance program with your car. Basically, this is what we're doing. We're doing a 30,000, 60,000, 90,000 mile checkup on this stuff. You don't always fix everything. You identify things that need to be done, and then we're going to come up with a program to address those. And the work was completed, and power was restored back on schedule. They actually completed ahead of time, but to prevent some of the issues with telling everybody to come back early, they went ahead and took care of a couple other things that they could while the outage was going on, and that's how they got to have so many things completed. So once again, very good job. Now moving forward, we identified a lot of items during the outage which will require some additional work. As David mentioned, we have a lot of buildings that are over 40 years old. A lot of the electrical equipment in those buildings are original to the building. And as Carl always stresses to me, anything over 20 years old needs to be updated. So you can kind of start thinking about what he's got going on in his mind we've got equipment that's 40 years old, 30 years old, 25 years old. It's working, yes, but it's very fragile. It's like grandma's old photo album. You like looking at the pictures, but you're afraid to turn the page because it's going to rip. So he has to take it apart and put it back together every time they do a PM on that. So he keeps stressing that we need to replace a lot of this stuff. Some of the generators that we had running for the buildings during the outage didn't perform very well. We've got a list of those. We're identifying the work that needs to be done on those. Some of those are original to the building. Again, the 20-year program goes on. We've got some 40-year-old generators that are working. We just don't know how long they'll continue to work. So we need to start programming those in. And then facility service will be reaching out to the affected buildings once our scope's been identified on what we need to do to each of those buildings. Once again, Carl's got a massive spreadsheet that he's programming all of this stuff in. The number's enormous. David's going to choke when he sees it, but we're going to have to start taking it, little chunks at a time. And every outage, every year, we're going to start addressing some of this. So our program continues. It's been a proven success with the plan, and the plan continues. Communication with campus will go through the building coordinator program. This program, as David and Jackie both said, it's essential that we communicate with you guys what we're trying to do, and then y'all relay that back to the building so we get this good communications and operations going to continue, because we don't like sending the outages unplanned. We'd rather say, okay, guys, let's do this preventive maintenance instead of we ran to failure, which we don't want to do. And as we make improvements to the electrical system on campus, we plan to be able to isolate in the buildings in some instances. As we do improvements, we'll be able to put in isolation switches. Carl can go into detail with you on that for your buildings, where we could actually turn portions of the building off, keep you fed, and be able to PM some equipment, switch it back over, PM this side of the equipment, and still keep you some, maybe not full energy, but partial energy. So we're working on programs like that, and that's where we're going to go. Oh, Any questions? Yes, sir.
This is a much bigger question, and feel free to keep it small, the answer.
That's,
When you have buildings that are 40 years old plus, do y'all put a cap on how much y'all will do? Y'all say, hey, we just aren't gonna go in there and spend $1 billion because it's a 40-year-old building.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it just depends on, you know, how much longer do we intend to use the building. You know, there's been rumors of certain buildings that are, you know, scheduled to be decommissioned in the next couple years, 8 years out, things of that nature. But my attitude behind it is, as long as the building is occupied, period, and until we decommission that building, we're obligated to repair, replace, or fix as needed. You know, I've heard stories about buildings that are coming offline next year, and then 5 years later, we're still putting people in. So, you know, we have to continue to upgrade. If it's still being used, we have to continue to upgrade. But when you have such a massive campus like we do, and so many buildings that the equipment's old and deteriorated, you have to take the most important stuff first. And right now, we're working on the main utilities, like all the high voltage equipment and transformers and high voltage transfer switches, like Mike said, where it gives us the opportunity to rethink our design too, and how it affects your building during outages and switching. And some of that was possible with the lab buildings, like Mike talked about. Fleming and STL received a pretty significant upgrade over this winter outage. That, you know, in the future for them, when we do planned maintenance, we can move their utility feeders now, and those buildings won't suffer a power blip on them anymore. That's great. That's, you know, one of the biggest factors for everybody's building is just taking a power blip and interrupting service. So we keep pushing that direction to get the best we can whenever we can get it, as long as people are using the buildings.
and I don't think it's a cap on the amount of money we spend, is that money available? And a lot of times, because of the newer technology, we can combine components and get them a lot smaller than what we have the footprint for. But in some instances, we've got a couple of buildings where we've got transformers and generators down in basements. Back in the 50s, basements were cool, but who puts basements in sea level, you know, territory? And then they flood. And then you've got issues of getting them in and out of the building. We've got some issues at Roy Cullen. I'm not to pick on a building, but Roy Cullen has transformers that are 75?
They're
Original to the building. The transformers are under the main walkway going into the building. The only way to get down in there and to remove those transformers is to tear up the front of that and all the stairs and everything to get them out. And then we've got to put new ones in, but we're not going to put them down there, so where do they live? And then how big of a space is that going to be? And then how do you switch and wire and do all the other things? So those are the challenges that we have. We can overcome them, but it's just the time and the money. You know, and so getting those things programmed, and that's what we keep looking at, and Carl keeps telling me we gotta do it, because any day we're gonna wake up and it's not, if we're gonna get the call, it's when we're gonna get the call that something happened there. Yes, sir?
You may have addressed this in previous meetings. This has been 2 years in a row you guys have done this in the holidays. It's been a success, it sounds like. You've been very productive. Are you planning on continuing to do this every
Yes, sir.
holiday?
Yes, we're going to continue to go on every year, and that was one of the things I was going to leave you with, is like, we're going to be back again and start letting you know once we have a program of what we want to do this year, then we'll start getting that out to you. Hopefully, it won't be as big an impact to campus.
It shouldn't be.
Well, we did so many different things. I mean, the substation is going to be an impact to campus because that's our main feeds in. But then if we don't have to do that this year, we may be able to isolate it to smaller sections of campus. It'll still impact campus.
As long as we keep the ball rolling, the impacts will get less and less. But when we start hitting these stretches, what has happened over the past decade here, where you go 5, 6, 8 years and don't do anything, you know, the pile builds up and you have so much to do, and it's a massive effect on campus. So hopefully within the next 5 years, you know, it'll be isolated outages on smaller batches of buildings, and you know, as some of this equipment changes out, maybe not such a long duration outage to them.
And then maybe we get to where we can do the south side of campus one year, and then the north side of campus the next year, and then we can start planning, and you'll know I'm on an even year rotation or I'm an odd year rotation, and start planning that way. So it's a plan, we're working on it, but we're not there yet. Anything else? Y'all are awesome, thank you.
One thing I do want to share, two kind of important, I guess, outage notification or outage communication things we've been working on. One is I now have the ability, and it's really great thanks to Malcolm Davis kind of getting the ball rolling, but I've been, I'm not going to say Facilities has been given access to use the Right Now communication process for campus. So when there are emergency facility outages that are going to happen, and whether that's, it's going to happen in an hour or because we had like a power interruption, I think that happened in November, December, and then we had the terminal pole. And one of the things that has been difficult for y'all is by the time we can get the information to you and to get it out across campus, especially when it's these like either campus-wide or a large segment of campus. So that will be something that you'll get to see. Again, it's only going to be truly emergency situations or things that are, if we know the campus is getting ready to power down even for just a minute electrical interruption. So that's one thing that we were able to secure and get really going. I guess it was the end of the last semester. And the other thing that I wanted to let y'all know, and you'll be hearing more about this in the building coordinator corner, the emails that come out, I worked with, really to get that implemented, I worked with University IT. But another piece that we were able to accomplish is we can get building by building listservs. It's something that UIT has to do for us, but they can do a sort through PeopleSoft for your building. And it's not perfect by any means because it may have people that were assigned to your building are still in the list, or maybe people who aren't there, but it's a start. And so as some of these things develop, we began to pursue this because I've had different building coordinators say over time, some building coordinators have phenomenal listservs of their buildings, but not everybody does. I don't even have one really for our general services building, so we're next on the list. But just know, and again, be watching for information about this. If this is something that you would like us to help you with, we now have in place. All we have to do is just make the request, and then UIT can pull the information together. And again, if you're happy with your method of communication and it works, we probably could all learn some pointers from y'all. And so that'll be maybe a table talk we have at the next meeting. Just talk about, so how are people communicating to their buildings? Do you have a listserv? Do you want a listserv? Do you post signs? I'd love to know what some of y'all do, the things that are working and things that don't work. So I just wanted to share that a bit of information. Like I said, there'll be more coming probably in some information emails. But let's go ahead and get on to this really. I think this next presentation is really interesting. I got to visit with Ron about it a little bit more in depth yesterday. So it sounds like it's going to be very comprehensive and exciting and good for the campus. And so let me go ahead and bring Ron Harris up here and Malcolm Davis, and they're going to talk to you about it's the key access, and it's really to help gear the campus to being more safe and secure. So thank y'all guys.
Say hello.
Hello. Thank y'all for having us on this beautiful Friday. It's amazing to me, seriously, how dedicated you are. You're away from the office for an hour. It is gorgeous outside. You came here rather than a cup of coffee sitting under a tree and watching the world go by. You're extremely dedicated or scared to death of Jackie, one of the two. But either way, thank you for being here. The one thing I want to talk to you about is going back to the basics of what we're trying to do here. Access control, obviously we're trying to make the campus safer. For who? For all of y'all, for the people that work with you, and anybody on campus. Well, what's the big change? Well, instead of using one of these to get in your area, you use one of these. Okay, my buildings, we got the access control, the card readers, and this doesn't work. Don't give us a call. Call Upline in your area. We do not tell departments who has access and when.
We leave that up to y'all. Y'all know who needs, y'all know when, we just give you the facility to do so. Don't be afraid to say yes if you're not sure. The worst that happens, you give me access, you find out I don't really need it, you take away. You don't give me access, I whine, you give it to me. Okay, I come in at some strange time, you run an audit. Malcolm, why were you here at 3 in the morning every Tuesday? What are you doing? Either explain it satisfactorily, or guess what? I don't have after-hour access anymore. All of this is y'all's control. Something comes up missing at a strange hour. We can run, y'all can run, who came in after hours. Now, if we come in one at a time, that's really nice. All of us come in, I swipe, the whole group walks in together, then obviously it's not also perfect. Pick on Chi, haven't seen her for a while. Okay, there's a problem out at Sugar Land. She was there. Chi, who came in with you? She tells us, so we know other people to talk to. So it's not perfect, but it's much, much, much better that everybody has a key. And the only change we are really making is that now you no longer have key access after hours to every exterior door in your building. You have 2. And please keep in mind, we picked the first door where the handicap annunciator is. That's
Actuator.
Actuator, okay. It's a big word. The other one, the departments picked. We asked, where do you want the second door to be? And we asked them specifically, think after hours. Think 3 in the morning, not 3 in the afternoon. After hours, what's the closest parking area? Where do you want them to come in? If you didn't get the door that you like, your dean, your chairman, your VP, not us. That was up to y'all. From what I understand, we're getting some really good results on people using cards instead of keys. We're getting, instead of 1,000 alarms a day, we're getting down to maybe 100. So Ron has all the good news to tell you.
Hello, everybody. I've met a lot of you guys in here, but first I want to thank Jackie for inviting us to come give you guys an update. And I want to call Richard Day down here too, because I'm going to touch bases on something that he's probably going to have to answer all the questions. Not going to be me. I've learned since I've been here to push things in directions, not answer all the questions. So I want to thank Facilities, number one, for working with us on this huge project, and FP&C, Dean Ruck has been the greatest in getting this project scheduled, planned, and keeping it on track. So I want to give you guys an update of where we are right now. I think that when we started this access control implementation across campus, the idea and the goal here was to, number one, give a higher level of security across campus that could protect the college, the faculty, staff, students, and assets of the building. And that's what the whole goal is here, guys. It's not changing your convenience. It's not focusing on it. It's focusing on protecting you guys in case of any type of emergency, whether it be a physical or it's natural or whatever the case may be. So that's the goal. And with you guys' help, we can get this moving along, and we can, you guys can assist with the fighting battles that we have to go through, especially with what I'm going to tell you guys we're going to do next that a lot of people probably not going to be happy with. I'll give you guys the immediate results of what we did. We did it on break, the day right before the break was instituted, the holiday break. We did a campus lockdown test in which we locked down the entire campus to see exactly what results we will receive. We had 961 data points that we could use to go back and actually visually see exactly what was occurring throughout campus. One thing we wanted to figure out is how long would it take for us to lock down the entire campus in one motion. It took us right at 2 minutes and 54 seconds, which is an extreme amount of time. We can fix that. We can get that down to under a minute, and we're going to use the data points that we have to get that there. But what's going to be very, very institutional to us getting to that point is having you guys assist us with new processes in place. One of the biggest things that's creating problems across campus is people putting things inside of doors, holding doors open throughout the middle of the day, and creating that culture. That culture is huge. And it's not just our students. It's also our faculty and staff doing it as well. So when we see doors open, doors not latching, we have to take the initiative to remove those things out the doors and get the doors closed. And also, we have to start informing PD that the door was held open so that we can do the investigation tools on our end to see who did it. I'd like to thank Custodio. I don't know if Ms. Simmons is in the room. I've never, yes. So we actually had that incident occur. We did some research. We figured out who did it. We sent the information to Ms. Simmons, and she was right on top of it. I mean, within 30 minutes, she knew. She got the people in her office, and she scolded them. Thank you so much for that, because that culture.
Do with those physical violence.
So that culture is helping us to fix these issues, but we need everyone on board with it. We need everyone seeing these doors open and closing them and reporting that information, because I tell you, and I'll give you guys these numbers, and this is going to be very, very heartache it's heartache to me, and I know it's heartache to Malcolm to hear these numbers. On break, throughout our Christmas break, there was over 300 plus doors held open, including 100 plus exterior doors held open across campus, which resulted in some other things that I'm not going to go into, but we cannot allow that to happen. If the door's held open at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it's the same as it being held open overnight, because when it's held open, no one's going to remove the items. It's just what we do. However, we have got better. Our security team is working hand in hand with myself and dispatch and PD, and they are working tirelessly, because they know I'll call them at 11 o'clock at night and say, hey, there's a door open over here. What's going on? I've been tasked with a huge job of trying to get us all on one goal, and that is securing this campus and securing our students, faculty, and staff, and assets. So the lockdown showed us, number one, that the time there can be fixed, can be replaced. It also showed us that we have a huge issue with preventive maintenance that we've pushed back to Richard, and he's been working tirelessly and running reports to see which doors are actually not functioning correctly, where we can actually see and visibly see those doors in the system and get those doors fixed. And it showed us number 3 is that we need to do a better job on our access levels for all of you guys, and we have to manage that a little bit more appropriately. So my first question to you guys right now, based on that, is how many people has a badge in here? How many people has that card on them right now? Everyone who doesn't have their card on them right now, that's part of it. The biggest concern here is knowing that you belong on this campus. The second biggest concern is knowing that you can get into a building without having to call PD, because that's taking resources away from those guys doing their job. That is huge right now. We get so many calls in at night when the buildings are locked for someone to get in the building that really has a card and can get in there. So we understand there's going to be some problems. These cards are not going to work sometimes, but I tell you, if you see your car wearing out on the back, first thing you do, go get it replaced. It's free. Everyone likes something free, right? Go to the card office, get another card. So a lot of concerns when you guys call us and say, hey, my card's not working. A lot of times it's your card. It's really nothing that we can do. We can walk you to the cool card office. You don't know if you can't find it, but go ahead.
I don't use my card for anything but getting in the door. Maybe I used it a couple times and then it didn't work anymore. Would y'all be working with card services to get a better strip on there?
So you can't change the strip. It comes one way. Eventually, when the price of proximity cards like this come down, then we're probably going to go to this proximity card. But right now, this is cheaper, and it's free for you guys. Now, I can talk to Malcolm and say, hey, Malcolm, these are not working. We want to go to these cards, and then we can say, okay, well, we'll just bill all the departments for it. Not a good idea, right? Okay.
$5 a card right now.
Yeah, these are $5
How long
a
have you had
card.
your card?
Well, is it a question of how long I've had it or how much I've used it?
How long have you had it? Mostly, though.
I've had it for a long time.
Oh, okay.
I've used it like never, except for when they changed the rule.
Have you ever had a credit card that you had in your pocket for a long time and all of a sudden it just quit working? It's massive magnet. It can be demagnetized, and especially women, and I'm sorry ladies, I'm not talking about you specifically, but women are the most called cards deactivating because it's in their purse. And there's all types of things in their purse and in and out of their purse, and they set their purse down in different places, but it happens a lot. So if it doesn't work, you can immediately contact me, and I can actually look in, pull a report to see if your card, if I can actually see your card in the system. But I tell you, 55 to 65% of the time, the card is the problem is actually the back of the card not working. So.
So when it's someone who, I have keys still, and it's still open the door, so I didn't have a problem getting in the building. But what if it's someone who, so we check their car, I do, whenever I put someone in the system, I say, let's go check it to make sure that it works. So it works, we check it,
So there's things in place for that. It's number one, call PD. PD can always get in the building. They can get them inside the building. That's what they're there for. But those type of issues need to be reported immediately to me and to the team so that we can get that fixed immediately. We do not want to inconvenience you guys. But think about it. It could be the car, and most of the time it is. Most of the time it is Monday morning, they go get a new car. See, so here's the good thing about controlling the doors electronically. We can do it from almost anywhere. We can do it from dispatch, I can do it from my office. So we have things in place to be able to assist you guys to get in the buildings after hours or when this card does not work. We have multiple different doors that have that electronic access on it that we can remotely unlock, we can remotely control. So the goal is not to inconvenience you guys to get in the building, because the goal is to secure the campus. Now, unfortunately, convenience and security don't match. They don't mix, you can't put them together, never gonna work. So we have to do what higher education has moved to for. So, and I'll give you guys this and I'm gonna move forward, and because the next thing is gonna be key to what you just mentioned. 2001, higher education began to talk about security and consider security concerns on a major scale. And I use this same scenario all the time with everyone. 2007, Virginia Tech happened. Blew everyone's mind. Couldn't believe this happened on a higher education campus at this level. But it taught us some things. It taught us, one, it's unpredictable. We don't know when it's gonna happen. We don't know where it's gonna happen. But it told us that because it is so unpredictable, we have to be prepared. We have to do things that's proactive. And the access control system, the camera systems, PD learning how to respond to these things is our proactive approach. And then it's taught us, number three, we have to be consistent with that. We can't deviate away from it anyway. So if we're gonna put access control on the student housing, we also have to do that on the research building. We also have to do that on the engineering building. We have to do the exact same things across campus and create that culture that this is gonna be something we're gonna do consistently and proactively. And we can't deviate away from that, because when we do, we're now back at a security risk, and we cannot afford to be at a security risk anywhere across campus. So, and that's where we are. So that's the goal of it, is actually to provide that security. So, moving forward, what's gonna happen now also, and it's all gonna be done with Richard, and he's put together a wonderful plan on doing it. We've worked with PD, myself, Richard, and PD, we've worked together and designed a plan. So all exterior doors, and I'm not talking about your office, your classrooms internally, but exterior doors, there will not be any keys given out to anyone except DPS. Shocking, I know. If you guys understand what I was talking about throughout this whole thing, is security. What this does, it eliminates the ability for someone to get into a building inside of an emergency if we decide no one needs to get in the building except DPS. There's gonna be a lot of people not happy with that. And I understand that now I'm gonna have to walk all the way around the building while I'm on the clock to get in the building at the other door. It happens. We're gonna have to do it. It's a part of us securing the campus. And Richard's gonna do it. Richard can tell you guys when he plans on deploying this and when this is gonna be done, so.
Hi. Hi. Well, everyone's cheery today, I guess. What my plan is we're going to probably be, we're still partly in design. There's a few little areas we're trying to work out some details on. But my plan is we'll probably be sending out building coordinators emails, asking them to make sure their staff has access with their cards for the majority, and then schedule a date. And that date will be, the week of so-and-so. And at that point in time, we'll come out and we'll be changing the locks on the perimeter of the building. If you have a situation where you absolutely must have a key, we need to approach Mr. Malcolm Davis, get his approval on it. We have a few situations where that may be, but I can't see a whole spectrum of it. But that's kind of the general plan at this point in time. I'm hoping to probably start this project probably mid-February. So as we start that project, like I said, I'll send you an email, ask you to check, do you know of any card problems you're having? Address those issues, make sure your card systems are up and running. Majority of your people have card access. And then we'll be coming in and changing the locks. Any questions? Oh, with that, I did forget, those people who do have keys do need to return the keys to key control. so they can clear the databases. So, Penny, if you would agree with this, if they just put the name of the person on the envelope and return it to you, that would be satisfactory?
Sure,
Right, okay, yes.
If you're going to change the locks, then why don't you just make it obsolete? Because it's really hard to send all these keys.
Well, unfortunately, we have to still provide access for UHPD if they need a key, if there is a system failure.
The old keys, you're going to change the locks.
True, but some of our buildings are so old, have such old keys, and through generations and generations and generations, nobody knows who has all those keys. Since we opened up Famous this past 3 or 4 years, there's been a great improvement on that tracking, but I could nowhere tell you who had the key in 1982. And some of our buildings are still using those keys. So that's one of the main drives of making the locks change. So we have a starting point. We know who's using cards. We know who has keys. We know who's going in the buildings, when, where, how, who. And should there be an event, we know where to tackle it.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that if you're going to change the locks, just make
Why do you need the
the old
keys?
keys obsolete.
So they can throw them away instead of turning them in.
Well, the problem is, they're assigned to a lot of people. And again, if we don't take it out of their name, then what happens is they do check out, when they do that, what's that form when you leave? I forget the name of it. Termination letter, it's gonna go to key control, and they're gonna say, Betty still has this key. Yes?
Can we get a list of people who are assigned exterior door keys so that we can, help in contacting them?
I believe we can. If you wanna send me an email of your building, who you are, then we can process it that way, get you a list. Okay?
Richard, what's your email?
rhday@central.uh.edu, or could they email kas@central.uh.edu? We've kind of separated some of the duties between key control, which is Penny, and me within the lock shop, but either one of us will be glad to help you out. Anything else?
Is this program going to be extended to ERP?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. My email?
Well, to get the list.
KAS. Yeah. Yeah.
It's for key access services.
And if you didn't work, call fix it, just get transferred right over to us. Fix it. If you ever need anything and you can't remember anything else, just call fix it, they'll get you.
And let me applaud, while we're talking about Key Access, let me applaud Key Access for what they've done also. They're assisting us as well, and they're doing a great job. So, I'm not for sure if you guys are aware, but if there's so every building, someone has decided what time that building is gonna be open and closed. Well, outside those scheduled times, if there's a scheduled class there that's outside that building open and closed, it has to be scheduled, of course, to Glenn Truman, and his crew, and once they do that, that list goes over to Key Access. And what they do is they go in and schedule one-time events for those doors to be open. Now, of course, we know that it doesn't happen the right way all the time, and I've seen people throw Key Access under the bus, but if it's not scheduled, they don't know to open the door.
Yeah, we can't.
They can't, and they've actually been told, that they will call me immediately and say, hey, Ron, do you know about this? I can't give them and say, open that door, if it's not inside the schedule for general purpose classroom, if it's not scheduled. So that's something big that you guys may want to definitely talk to the colleges about, is about making sure they get those classes scheduled, because they don't get them scheduled outside of business hours, we can't unlock the door. We're not allowed to go in and just program a door to be open just because someone says, I have a class there. It doesn't work that way anymore. Everyone needs to use the system so that we can do our job productively on the back end, so it doesn't affect you guys on the front end and students, staff, and so forth. Go ahead.
That's also on elevators. We have classes on a certain floor, certain times they shut off. We gotta let you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's the elevators as well, it's instituted in that. So we can't turn the elevator on for everyone to get up there if we don't know that class is going on. But So that's something big that you guys need to ensure that your college, and they're gonna contact you guys, they're gonna complain and say, hey, well, this door, it wasn't open, and I've seen a lot of emails already. And then we go look into Astra, and the class was never scheduled. And so it's really not the fault of us actually programming the door, the class has to be scheduled. So that's something I'm glad that you guys were here. Thank you guys so much for all the assistance you guys were giving me. Took something off my plate, now it keeps me very busy. So.
So is the plan by the end of like the spring semester for all of the staff to be accessing their buildings with the swipe of the card rather than keys?
After hours.
Yeah, after hours. So we're trying to get this done before the end of this year. So right now, we have 103 buildings with access control on. Total number of buildings? 150 buildings total. Take away about 6 or 7 buildings that we're not even gonna touch because they're probably a shed that no one has been in 40 years. We're not gonna do anything there, but all the other buildings, yes, and including ERP will be done hopefully by the end of this year. We'll have card access to all the buildings. We're planning to do another lockdown test. We haven't got approval for it yet, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway because I won't see you guys again. We're planning to do this during spring break. I gotta convince Malcolm why, but we're planning to do this again, and we'll figure out a way to get you guys a functional number and where we are at that point via Miss Jacqueline there, so you guys know where we are. But I can assure you guys that we are working tirelessly trying to get to the point that we can provide a response in case anything happens. So whether it's a shelter in place, tornado, I hate to say it, but a mass shooter, whatever the case may be, we're trying to be proactive so that we can respond. Thank you. Knocking on wood.
Let me circle back to something real quick, because at some point, somebody's come to you and say, okay, I really have to have my key. I can't afford to give it up. What they need to convince me of is their need to be in the building at a time where we have an incident where we have to lock it down, we're keeping everybody but first responders out, that their need to be in overrides their personal safety, which is the reason we don't have you in. Now, another way to do that, we've got the building locked down, there's something going on. We're trying to keep, besides trying to keep people out, we want to know who is going in. So you can go, there will be somebody from DPS, police or security at the door with the card readers. You can go up there, and depending on why you need it, they can let you in. We know you're there. So if it comes point to, okay, we have to clear the building, the gas leak is spreading, we know we're looking for Paul Lozano. We know he's still in there. So it's not that, no, you can never go in. Yes, you can. You can convince me up front that, yeah, you really do need the key. And there are a couple that we've said yes to, not very many. Or incident by incident, you can go to the officer, work in the door and say, hey, here's who I am, here's why I need in. They can write in and let you in where you're going. Hopefully we can find you if we have to. Again, all we're looking at, and I know it bothers people, we're looking at y'all's safety. We're looking at our safety. We're not worried about a whole lot about convenience. I get to be the bad guy, but that's okay.
How many people want to run into a building that's on fire? How many people want to run into a building with a chemical spill? I mean, we have people in place to do those things, and they're the security and safety people of UH. So in case we have to lock a building down, it's really so that you guys can't get in there because we don't want anything harmful to happen to you guys. And so it's not trying to control you or anything of that. We're wanting to make sure that safety and security is primary for you guys as well as the students. So that's the goal, that's the key.
What we're working at, and this is a true story, I won't say the building, and I won't say when, because some of us have been here that long. But we had a building on campus where the fire alarm was going off literally for 2 hours. We had 8 fire department units out here. We had a cloud of green gas going through the building. And 2 hours later, we had people coming out. I said, what was that cloud of green that we walked through? Okay. We really have to deal with this kind of stuff. So if you're one of the people that has more common sense than that, we're not worried about you. You're going to do what you need to do. It's the other ones. I mean, you got, what, 50,000 people, 60,000 student, faculty, staff. You're going to have a few that, that's one of the reasons we try not to post fire alarm drills. Because, oh, okay, it's 10 o'clock, thing on the door, we're having a fire alarm. Well, but what if it's a real fire at 10 o'clock? Oh, it's a fire alarm, I'm not going anywhere. Then we have a bunch of toasty students, and we don't want that. So what we do really is with your best interest at heart. It's kind of like, I'm from the government, I have your best interest at heart, yeah, right. But we really do. We try to be the good guys, doesn't always work, but we try. What questions do y'all have for us? Don't be bashful. Ron will make up an answer at anything.
Yeah, I will. And again, if you want access for an exterior door with a key, it has to go be approved by Malcolm. No ifs, ands, buts, maybes. Because I'm always going to tell Malcolm, I don't think it's appropriate. It's just me. I don't feel like anyone should have a key to the exterior door. That's my thought.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
So you hear that a lot from me.
That's true.
Nope. So.
So we will not have to be issued new ID badges. It's going to be with our existing, the current ID badge that
Existing
we
carrying
have.
badges.
Yes, ma'am. Unless there's a problem with your badge. Some of the newer ones that we have been issued lately, there is a problem, and we're working on replacing those. It's a disconnect between the badge and the readers. There's nothing that we can do to fix it. And occasionally they have something like mine quit working, and we finally figured it skipped numbers. That when it swiped it wasn't reading the numbers in the right order, it's reading the right numbers, so I got a new badge. But new badges don't cost anything. The longer you've used it, the more you used it, the sooner you have to replace it, but at some time you're gonna have to. But we will come to you. Your badge isn't working. We will go into the system and see what reads we're getting when you swipe it. We'll go meet with you and we'll see what you're doing. And then, this is real basic, and I've said this before. We've had people that they swipe the door and it doesn't work. Why? The door didn't open. Did you try turning the handle? No. Okay. Did you have to turn the handle with the key? Yeah, you have to turn the handle with the card too. So sometimes it is a teaching thing. But we're trying to make it as painless as possible.
And
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
One thing that y'all can always emphasize, especially when you deploy to a new building, because I know we had a lot, other people said it, if you just make sure everyone's aware of this for off hours.
Yes.
For some reason, they have to swipe every single time.
Oh, yeah, off hours. Yeah. And if you swipe and your card didn't work and you think, well, I should have access to this building. Maybe you're housed over here, but you do 50% over here and you really do need after-hours access because that's where after-hours access. Then just let somebody know and we'll make it happen. It isn't to inconvenience anybody, it's just instead of a card, instead of a key, you use your card. If you can get in it now, you can get in it then. If you can't and you think you need to, talk to somebody in your area.
And my last update is going to be engineering building. Anybody from the Law Center here? No? Engineering, Law Center, engineering, that's all engineering buildings. A couple other buildings too, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head right now. We did realize that we had a problem with some readers. We deployed about 25 readers out, and we got HID, who provides the manufacturer of the readers, provided a tech bulletin that these readers had a firmware issue, and they were all replaced on yesterday. So we know there was some issues in the field with readers not working. I'm not, I don't want to keep anything from you guys, so I'm letting you guys know we are aware of it. We immediately looked back at our integrator to figure out what was going on. There was a huge problem in engineering, I know, and I got a couple calls from Ken and Steve, and I've been scolded like 6 or 7 times, so the problem is resolved now. That problem also extended to the HSC building, the bridge. Of course, there's other issues with the bridge as well that we're working on through Vaughn. But we've fixed those readers, and those readers should not be causing problems anymore as of 7 o'clock last night.
So you're saying the readers replaced?
The reader was replaced totally. So the native 200 series readers that were just deployed by HID to our integrator, they took away the 6300 series and went to a new series. That whole entire series had a firmware problem. So luckily we only had 21 out of 1,800 that we have deployed across campus that were actually part of that new deployment, and they've all been replaced as of yesterday. Now, not to say that we're still not having some issues across campus with readers as a whole, but if there are any issues there, I can assure you guys that we're working tirelessly on the back end, trying to ensure that none of these issues are going to create you guys problems. And with that being said, we work directly with the security officers and dispatch to respond to anyone being locked out or can't get into a building. But again, we're also seeing people calling to get in buildings and they have card access. Moving forward, if you don't have access to the building, especially if it has a reader, the SOs won't respond and let you in the building. So make sure you keep your cards on you, because it's going to be very upsetting. I know you guys are. If if you don't have your card, you can't get in, and security says, we're not letting you in because you don't have access. So,
Can you talk again about, you said earlier, the dog is the first door, and then the person is the second door. How many doors are going to be? If I had to just count real quick, how many doors are on our exterior, it's probably at least 10.
so let me explain that a little bit more in detail so you'll understand. When he's speaking of, we choose the door, you choose the door, that's with readers on it. That's with the
Yeah, just
actual
the readers.
functionality of you being able to swipe your badge and go in. We also put electrified hardware on the other doors around there, most of the other doors except exit only. So we can still program those doors to be open during business hours. But you just couldn't go to the door and swipe your badge to get in and out of those doors, because there's no reader there. So we choose the first reader, which is gonna be wherever an ADA door is, because we're required, and we don't want the ADA police to come on, to get on our butts about not having the accessibility of everyone being able to get into that ADA door, so we have to choose that by standard across campus. The second door you guys choose, and we ask that they look at, one, how do students actually use the building? Where do they come in at? Where's the closest parking lot at? Where's the closest street at? And we want them to functionally look at that. What's the pathway into the building? Look at that and tell us what you know, because it's your building, you work there all the time, what would be appropriate for the students and the faculty and staff to get in. After that, we're not putting any more additionals that we fund on the building. Now, if you guys think that it's appropriate to have more readers, they are more than welcome to call Richard or myself. We'll get Stanley out, we'll get a quote together. We're not denying readers to go in locations. We're not denying that at all, unless I see a real huge concern with putting it there. It's not that we're denying. We're not wanting to control the building. We're wanting to control, right now, locking down the doors. So what's convenient for security, there's no such thing, but I'm gonna say it so we have a clear understanding. What's gonna make it easier to secure the building is what we're gonna do. Outside of that, it's based on you guys saying, hey, we wanna pay for it with our money, we'll do it, and hey, we'll come out and look at it, we'll get a quote sent to you, and you guys can do whatever you like at that point.
There are departments that have done that.
There's a lot of departments.
Yeah.
Engineers doing it now.
Yeah, that they look for, well, to us, the convenience for our student, faculty, staff is really important. We want another card reader here. Okay, that's fine. But then that's on their dime. There's just too many doors on, exterior doors on campus to put card readers on all of them. It's amazing how many doors there are.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
What about arranging a one-stop shop or streamlining a process for vendor access? So let's just, for example, say it's Friday, I'm asked to do a project. Saturday, I need to get contractor access. It's 3 o'clock. Well, the process now, I actually had this happen to me. It took a day and a half to get everything processed. So,
What all was involved in the process?
well, first you.
Well, let me ask you something, see if you think this would work, because we've talked about this before, with the card shop. Eventually, we're gonna figure out the solution to the one problem we got, and the whole building's gonna be locked down. Okay, when people come, how do they get up? My suggestion was, it's like a hotel. You get a series of cards already pre-programmed, they work from this time to this time. We give it to you, you sign, okay, you call me, Malcolm's coming to see me, please issue my card. I sign it, they give me the card, I go up to see you, and I leave, I turn it back in. I don't turn it back in, we charge you $50, something ridiculous, so that we get them back in. Would that solve the problem? Or they would be issued to you guys?
I'm not sure what the solution is,
Okay.
Malcolm, is, but.
But
I'm
a day and a
just
half
saying
isn't.
A process
Yeah.
needs to be streamlined.
So I've been getting that question a lot, but there is a process. It's just us being proactive for it. Number one, get them a POI status. Get them sponsored for POI. They get signed a PeopleSoft
That's true,
number.
too.
Once they get a PeopleSoft number, they go and get and pick up a card. I've seen the sponsorships be approved in an hour. I have, because I'm going through it right now with some guys. Once they get a sponsorship, whoever they're going to sponsor, get the POI done, they get a PeopleSoft number. I know that happens within business hours fairly quickly. Once that's done, they go straight to the recruit card office and get a card. Now that card will not give them the ability to get in different buildings. So you're going to have to then contact the persons of who's ever in that building that gives access and give them that access. What I can do, though, to assist with that is that I can see people in PeopleSoft. If you send me an email directly and say, hey, Ron, listen, if I'm in the office, if I'm not, call my cell. Most of the time I have my phone, my office phone forwarded to my cell phone. So if you call me and say, hey, Ron, this person just got a POI, they're a vendor, we don't want to inconvenience our vendors. We do not. But however, we still want to know that they belong on campus. So they have to go get a card from the Cool Card office. They should not be walking around our campus without a cool card. They need to have a PeopleSoft ID. We need to know who they are. We need to know why they're here. So that, we can't change that because we're now opening up the door for something to happen by seeing people on campus that we don't know who they are. I've walked many of our vendors straight over to the Cool Card office many a times, and I'll tell you, Canteen is one. I've walked their people right over there and said, hey, listen, why don't they have a Cool Card? And they've been in the system to have it, but their management hadn't pushed them to go do it. So a lot of this isn't that that the process is slow, it's just that we're not following that process, because the process is in place. So once they get their card from the Cool Card office, if you call me, send me an email, and what I'll do is you tell me which buildings they need access to, and you approve it with an email you send to me, and I can see it in an email, and you said it, I'll give it to them.
But, what I'm saying is, so for temporary access, so then we gotta contact whoever's gonna approve this through the department. And that's what gap is.
Okay, are these one-off groups, or like, is it your jocks or one-offs? Because your jocks,
It could be any contract.
with the jocks, you can set it up to where they have it from the computer, you just activate it per project.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
it's not as fast as Ron's saying.
Okay.
That's record.
So can you do me a favor? Can you, the next time you need that, can you include me in it? If you include me in it, I'll work on the access part of it with Cool Card office directly with them.
I'm just asking if we can come up with a method where it's a one-stop shop.
I just said it. So yesterday, I'll tell you, we needed, Nick needed access for his guys who's working on cameras across campus. I sent them the form, says here's the POI form, fill it out, send it over to the business administration or whoever needs to go do HR or whatever in your department. He did it yesterday morning about 11 o'clock. At 2:45, it was done. And he said, Ron, they're gonna be working here and here and here. And I said, okay, done. And I gave them access to those areas, and I gave them a deactivation time. So they can only work, since they're working this weekend, from 8 to 5. They can come in the building between 8 and 5. After 5 o'clock, they can't get back in that building. And then that badge worked Saturday and Sunday between those times, and Monday it was totally deactivated because then they have to go back to working when the scheduled time of the building is open. It's that simple. I mean, literally, we can do it that simply, easily, but you have to get the POIs first. So if you get that piece done, then after that, the access is gonna be quick. So, and I'll help. I promise, I'll help.
And again, that's part of the recording.
It's
so-
recorded, yeah.
Well, I don't want,
Question real quick. Something that seems contradictory of what you're talking about.
Okay,
Now, when I went through orientation here as a new employee and went through HR, it was stated to us that this is a public university and that anybody can be on this campus at any time.
during business hours. During business hours, yes.
Right, but you're saying that if anybody's on this campus, we want to know who they are and what they're doing and what their purpose is here.
So we don't have to know everything.
3 o'clock in the afternoon is during normal business hours.
So we don't have to know everything about them. We're never gonna know that. There's too many
If
people
it's 3
here.
o'clock in the afternoon, why do the building's already open?
The building's open,
And
but
you've got supposedly the way it used to be, and I don't know how you're doing it now. There was the project manager from U of H was with them. Now, I don't know if y'all are still, this goes way back in the day, I was in patrol. I don't know if y'all are still doing that. 8 to 5 kind of stuff, the building's open, we don't worry about it. One of the pushes is that everyone wears the ID, because you can tell at a glance, okay, I'm relatively large, somebody sees me walking in the hallway, okay, he's got a red thing on, maybe he's one of the good guys. Maybe I'm not, maybe I found it, but it takes the angst down. So, yeah, it's a public university. They have access to stuff in the library. We used to always be running off kids that were getting the computer and printing off stuff they weren't supposed to be. Yeah, it's a public university during business hours, after hours.
But let's be honest, it's just because it's a public university don't mean you want a homeless guy laying on the floor inside of one of the buildings, right?
Oh, I agree.
So some of this has to be our own common sense when we say public. We want it public because we want a public educational area and higher education for our students. Of course we do. We want them to be able to get around, move around, and not inconvenience them, but we don't want a homeless guy laying on the floor inside of one of our buildings, right? If we truly stick to that word and say this is public, then that means that we're opening it up for anybody doing business hours to lay on the floor, kick back, watch TV, in the lounge. So we have to also make common sense out of it too. Common sense is that we're not letting anybody into any building just to be in there. We're not doing that. So, of course, that goes back to us making sure that, we keep it open and fair for all our students, faculty, and staff, but we also put the security measures in place to make sure that no one's taking advantage of it or no one's there to hurt someone. So it's playing that role. Good guy, bad guy.
Question. What if it's an emergency situation that comes up? Say he's working, it's 4 o'clock on a Friday, and something goes down that he has to call a contractor in for, and it's 4 o'clock. Is he gonna be able to get that card for them?
I'll
Is
tell
you
you
gonna have
this.
somebody there?
At
Somebody
4
from U of H is gonna be there? Are you gonna have the contractor in at after hours by themselves? I mean, there are solutions to this. Somebody from facilities is there and he lets them in.
Or you have to call PD and say.
Yeah,
"We've
or
got
you call
half
PD,
hours."
yeah, no, definitely.
Well,
In
yeah.
an emergency, we'll get you in. That's, yeah.
Right, in
No,
emergency,
it's a good question.
somebody
It's a
should
good
be
question.
able to get in, or somebody on call. And honestly, Richard has his guys on call 24/7. So there was an issue, a building wouldn't lock, CV2, somebody had dogged the door down or whatever. I came up to the campus to figure out what the problem was. I called Stephen, and he was out here in 20 minutes to fix the problem. So, I mean, we're working around the clock, guys. We really are, trying to keep the campus
We'll find a
safe.
way to get you.
But we'll find a way. We'll do what we can.
And remember always, the call center, the Fix-It Customer Care Center is open 24/7, 365 days a year. So you can email them, text them, phone them, and we have someone in facilities who is here on duty. We have a weekly duty roster, so there is someone who is always permanently on phone call, a phone call away. So I don't want all the numbers being shared and emails.
Yeah.
You always can contact Fix-It in a pinch, and then they'll dispatch it and get the right information to the right people.
Yeah.
Well, oh no, go ahead, Tim.
I'm making an assumption here, but kind of
Okay.
off it's asking, do our facilities people and stuff like that, do they have total access, which I hope, or not?
They have total access, but in case of a lockdown, so we have 3 different, yeah.
No,
Yeah, they
maybe
do,
not
they
some,
do.
I don't know, you have access to all the research areas? I would assume you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, but,
Exterior doors, exterior doors. Now, labs, no. We
No.
don't have access to. Offices, we don't have access to.
right, and they shouldn't. They do? Well, and let me say this real quick, guys.
Only
This is
if
something
they
I'm
got
working
their
with,
key checked out that they got a project.
and that's an issue, that's a problem. That's a huge problem, and I'm working with EH, with the director, Joe Treatman, about that. If you hadn't had safety, if you hadn't went through environmental health, life safety, training, you should not be entering those labs, and you should not have access. That is huge, that's a mistake, we gotta fix that. So I'm working with Joe Treatman. If you have that access, and you've been going to those labs, I'm taking it away from you pretty soon. Because you should not be entering those labs without having that safety training, because if something happens to you, it's the liability of the university. So that is something we can't continue to do, that's a bad process, and I'm sorry, Malcolm, I didn't mean to, I may be overstepping right now to tell you guys that, but that is a bad process, and we gotta fix it.
Can I speak to this?
Yes.
Right at this time, we've taken all the facilities, is it services people?
Yes.
And,
This week.
we got a roster from everybody, and what we're doing now, UHPD and, folks, they've set up access levels in our 3 groups. One's a facilities management group, one's custodial, one's our FM staff, like myself. So those have already been established, we're doing it right now, actually, we're trying to do it every semester. Every semester, we go through and flush through maybe people have left, but we're updating all those access levels. So you're gonna get a group, if you're trace 3, you get the level underneath the police. If you're custodial, you get the middle group, because they have a little more than, us admin folks. So if you need something extra, you have to ask permission for that, and then it goes to these folks for, is this a safe area? So that's how that's being worked right now.
Thank you, Ms. Penny. I'm sorry, guys, and it's not to inconvenience you guys, but it's just like I had someone email me the other day and says, hey, Ron, someone took my access to an IT closet. Who did you get approved to have an IT closet access? That needs to go through IT. They need to approve that. You know, I'm sorry that someone took it from you, but send the request in through IT and let them approve you for it. So some things are standard and guidelines across campus, and going into a lab that has any type of dangerous chemical in there, you shouldn't be in there unless you've been through blood-borne pathogen training or biological or radiation training. You should not be in those labs. And I understand your facilities and you get calls to go in there, but that's something Joe Treatment is working on, putting a program together to make sure all you guys are through those trainings so you can have it. We don't want you not to have it. We just want you to be trained before you go in there.
Yeah, it's the DPS guys too.
Right.
Because we never know what they're using in that lab. You just know it's a glass wall and somebody's down on the floor. Is it safe for me to go in? Do I need to put on the green suit? What do I need to do? I'm sorry, those biohazard signs don't mean anything to me. I don't read code. I'm sorry. The numbers are, yeah, they're nice. Maybe a lotto or something. But yeah, I understand the frustration. But it's just, it's a safety issue for the people going in. And some of the labs, it may not be any particular, yeah, anybody can come in at any time, in which case, if Richard is a PI, he would say, yeah, give all the facilities people access. There's nothing toxic in there. That is something that we go back to the subject matter expert, which is not us.
Yeah, it's not us. It's environmental health, life and safety. We send that to them to let them approve that and go through the list.
No, good question. Good question.
Well, this has been great. I'm really glad. Thank y'all for all staying a little bit longer. And we do have our door prize drawing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it so much. I've learned a lot of good information, specifically about this particular process that's going to be coming. You may have noticed on some of the outage notifications, if there has anything to do with HVAC, any of the fume hoods, more and more you'll see part of the building impact is that buildings will be locked down. And it's because we're working more closely with Joe Tremont and Environmental Health and Life Safety. It's all about safety for everybody. So let's go ahead. Thank y'all so much. Before I say goodbye, we're going to do what?
Does anybody else need a ticket before we draw?
Yeah, does anybody else need a ticket? Did everybody get your door prize ticket? Well, I take that as an affirmative, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Winner. Now, it's going to be funny if it is you. Okay, the number is 032158. 158. Oh, okay.